Today begins our day for Passages. The Passages Radiothon is underway this morning as we talk about Passages, what it's all about in Richland Center and its importance. And the phone lines are open now until noon. If you'd like to make a pledge, donate to Passages, the number to call is 608-647-2111. And again, we're here until noon. We have lots of guests lined up for the studio today, starting with Shannon Roberts, Chris Simonson, and Darlene Waldsmith Tagliapietra, who will be here to talk a little bit during the opening segment about Passages. Chris, you are the president of the organization. Tell me a little bit about that and why you got involved.
I'm the president of the board of directors. So basically, the job of the board is to do our best to support the workers and the staff and the things that Passages is there for the people of the community. We meet regularly. We discuss things that are happening. We talk with Shannon and other staff members and find out what we can do to help, what we can do to support, what sort of things we need to be doing. We've made some significant changes in the last year or so financially that we will speak about later. But I got involved. I knew of Passages when I was a student here at the campus years ago, starting in 1979 through 80. When Heather and I were first married, one of Heather's first jobs was working for Passages. So that's how I really became familiar with what the purpose of Passages was, just what they did for those who were in greatest need in our community. And even though she was only there for, I want to say 3 years, so I will, It remains a place that's near and dear to my heart, just because of the need of the residents and those who need empowerment in the situations that they're in. So when Cindy called me, I guess it's been 4 years ago now, and said, "We have an opening on our board. Would you like to become a member?" I was honored to be asked, just because I feel so strongly in the work that the people at Passages do. So that's how I got involved.
But you've been around it, you've known about it all these years.
Yes.
It has quite a history of helping out people in the area, hasn't it?
It does. I would hear the radio shows from time to time when they were on, the plays, the little things that Will Burroughs had written in the past that were performed on here that were always compelling. I thought Brass R Us did some fundraisers for them through the years. We made some donations to try to help out. Again, all the guys and their significant others in the group recognized the significance of Passages. So there were times when there were advocates who would come to Riverdale and speak to usually a class, speak to one of the classes or more to tell about what Passages is. And there were times when there were food drives or things like that within the school district to help. And I know there are other districts that do that. I believe Ithaca does a nice food drive every year around the holiday season. So, people in the community know what Passages is. I think one of the jobs of the board is to help make ourselves even more public in the community so that there's never any doubt or there's never a question. Hey, if this is happening, where they know instantaneously, Passages is the place that we need to get in touch with.
I think that's very important here at the outset of the program, is because you and I have lived around here all our lives. We're well aware of it, but I think we need to get it out to the public about what it is, where it is, and why it exists too.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. And there, things were difficult for a lot of businesses and other organizations during the pandemic. Things just were so out there. There was a brief period of time where the shelter even had to close down, unfortunately, just because of what was happening when all of the people working in shelter were infected with COVID, so there was, no way they could take them in. So unfortunately, and fortunately, we were able to give out vouchers for hotels for people to go there who were in need. But, we want people to know that we are still here and doing everything that we possibly can for those who need our services.
We want to swing around the table and talk to some other guests here as well. Darlene, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. It's a privilege to be here. I am so happy to be here and representing Passages, and also am a member of the board. I am the current secretary, so I keep all the notes and make sure that we keep with our plan. We actually are just such an organization that we are so dedicated to serving that we make sure that we are visible and have a plan, and make sure that Passages makes it not only through the current time period, but way into the future. That's why I'm part of the organization. It wasn't just part of my past, but it's been part of it's part of our future here in Richland County. And we're just such I feel so privileged to be part of an organization that's got such a rich history. And even before we had a physical building, we had Passages. That's how reliable Passages is. That's how awesome Passages is. It's here for all of us, male, female, children, adults, older adults. I as some of you may know, I have a history in working not only with Passages, but had a couple of brief stays there myself with my family. And what it is so important for everyone to know is it serves everyone, including our children and our boys and our men, and also, of course, our women and mothers and people we hold dear. That's why I'm here, to help any way I can to make sure that this is part of Richland County's future.
So when you have someone ask you about Passages, you've got you have knowledge on both sides of it, don't you?
I do. I was honored and privileged to have one of the greatest people I've ever known, Bev Burns, be part of my walk every day. While I was younger, before I even knew exactly how Passages was going to be part of my life, but that it's carrying her legacy along with everything that I do and everything that I feel, and anyone in the community can come to me, and whether you want to volunteer and help or if you need a place to stay, we'll get you there. We'll make sure that you're safe and that you can prepare for your future.
Bev is certainly in our minds today, I think, as we think about Passages and its history, right?
It's been about 3 years, yes.
Yeah.
So I every day just know that that's what I'm here to do, is to make sure her legacy and all the work that not just her, but all the people before her, Joanne and everybody else, and goes forward, and that we adapt for the future and that we're prepared for the future.
The numbers, Shannon, of the people served, you continue to serve a number of people, don't you?
Yeah, unfortunately, domestic violence and sexual assault is not going away. It would be great if we were out of work because of that. But unfortunately, it is still a big problem everywhere. Last year, we had 1,169 crisis calls, which is phenomenal, that many people are reaching out and looking for resources and looking for help. Shelter, we provided safety and security to 66 women, 4 men, and 33 children, for a total of 4,492 nights of safe shelter. Along with shelter, a lot of people forget we have outreach services. So you don't have to be a resident of shelter in order to receive services from Passages. And last year, there were 589 services outside of shelter for people in need. So that's phenomenal right there. And just a reminder that you don't have to come to shelter to receive services. All of our services are free and confidential. And, The outreach staff, they can help with legal advocacy, medical advocacy, peer-to-peer counseling, just a numerous amount of things that they can help with as well. So I just always want to remind people of that you don't have to come to shelter to receive services. So,
have you ever had a situation where you're full and then you have to send people to hotels or anything like that?
We have in the past. Passages is unique in the way that we have a never full policy. So what that means is that we will not turn somebody away because there are no beds. We do not want them to stay in an abusive relationship, an abusive situation, just because we don't have beds. Majority of the shelters are always full with waiting lists. We have a unique opportunity that we can put people in hotels temporarily with outreach advocates that go and check on them in the hotels, provide them with food, provide them with, whatever they need during that time until we can get them either into Passages shelter or another shelter for safety. It all depends on if they're able to relocate or not. But we take a lot of pride in the fact that we can help all the people that call.
And they can bring their pets too, correct?
Absolutely. So that's one of the great things about Passages that I'm very proud of is we are one of 2 shelters in the state of Wisconsin that allow people to bring their pets with them. And the reason that's so important is because if somebody's in an abusive relationship and they have a pet, they absolutely adore that pet. That abuser is going to use that pet as their first target. If you leave me, I'm going to hurt your animal, your dog, your cat, your snake, whatever it is. And we don't ever want that to be a barrier for somebody to leave an abusive relationship. Too many times, I've heard people tell stories of past loved ones who have been murdered due to domestic violence. And when you find out that the reason they didn't leave was because they couldn't leave their pets, it's heartbreaking. Anybody that's owned a pet, that's your child. That's another one of your children, and you don't just leave them behind. So we're very fortunate. All that's required is that they're up to date on their vaccinations. We have to have proof of that before they come in. But there's really no restriction. I really don't like spiders coming in, but or snakes. But we've had dogs, cats, rabbits. I mean, you name it. We had mice. That was a pet. So there's really no restrictions as long as they're up to date on vaccinations. But it's very near and dear to my heart that we are one of those 2 agencies that allow pets to come because it's so important to the family.
I've heard it said that if someone would abuse an animal, they likely would abuse a person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they're going to care less about that animal, hurting that animal, than they are hurting a person. To an abuser that is about power and control, that animal doesn't stand a chance. So, and if you think about, families with children and, their dog is their security, their safety. Even if it's a Chihuahua, that dog cuddles with them and that dog, gives them that unconditional love. So it's vital that the pets are allowed to come to shelter.
Chris, we talk about survivors, but Passages is a survivor. You get through COVID, and you're looking to the future. You've had a lot of challenges in the last few years.
That's true. And again, I'm not sure that everybody realizes to the extent that they should that Passages is still here and is still working to save and help all those who are in dire need, those who are in any kind of a relationship involving abuse or assault or things like that. And as Shannon said, bringing the pets who are members of our families is such an important part of that. So yes, Passages continues to survive, and we continue going forward offering all the services that we possibly can.
And funding, I know it's been a little bit tight, Darlene. That's why this show is pretty important here today, isn't it?
As you heard before with Shannon, we don't turn people away. We don't turn any situation that would cause a lack of safety or security in a home and a person away. And so that's why if you can even just give a little bit in your heart from what's in your heart and have it come this way, we don't turn anyone away. It's a neat program to see that your money is well used. When we're doing this fundraising, it's not just well used. We stretch it as far as it's going to go, and it all goes back to the organization. It's not where a certain percentage goes to the CEOs or anything like that. This is all money that stays local. It is all impacting people that live here or stay here, and it doesn't go anywhere else. It stays exactly right here in Richland County. And that's why we're asking for some support, whether it be financial or otherwise, volunteers, all those things. We need to keep our organization going and thriving now and into the future. So I just ask that can I give the phone number?
You bet.
I would love to give the phone number. If you'd like to donate, it's 608-647-2111. 608-647-2111, and you can talk to one of our volunteers on the phone and see how you can get involved with Passages.
Yeah, well said. And if you can't give funds, I think Darlene brings up a good point. You can always use volunteers that can give of their time, right?
Absolutely. So one of the things that a lot of people don't know is when people volunteer for Passages, and that could be yard work, that could be helping with the kids program, that could be organizing donations, working directly with victims and survivors. There's a multitude of different volunteer opportunities, but we actually get a match for our grants. So with our state and federal grants, we are required to come up with a match. I believe it's about $25,000. And the way that's added is if somebody donates a bag of clothes, we will ask them, what do you value this? And then we will document the value of whatever they donated. So it's in-kind items. It's also volunteer hours. So if somebody volunteers for an hour, that accumulates to 1 hour of staff pay. So whatever the base pay is for staff, that's what we get to add to our grant through the volunteer hours as a match. So even if you don't have the financial means to help Passages, you can help Passages by donating that time, because time equals money. And it helps us reach our grant goals of the match. So it's volunteering, especially with the summer coming up. We have a lot of programs that we want to do with our youth at Ada James and at Shelter. And that's just going to require some extra volunteers. We are so fortunate with the amount of donations that people bring to us: clothing, household items, kids' toys, all kinds of things. And right now, we are actually preparing for a free rummage sale, which will be held at Ada James. And basically, when we have an abundance of donations, what we'll do is we'll set up a free rummage sale, and anybody from Shelter, from the Ada James Place Apartments can come and shop for free. It's really fun. We do it around Christmas time as well, for them to pick out presents for their kids, or for the kids to pick out presents for their parents. It's just a really great thing. So those donations are absolutely valuable to us. And like I said, the volunteer hours, that equals money. So that's a great way to help out Passages, without even having to work with victims and survivors if you don't want to. We have cleaning that needs to be done. We have lots of yard projects up at Shelter this summer. One of the main projects is we would like to construct a shed for the backyard of Shelter. Right now we don't have anywhere to store lawnmower, snow blower, kids' toys, that, the riding bikes and things like that. But due to the location of shelter, we can't bring one in that's already built because the house is built up along the bluff, and so there's no way of getting it in. So it's going to have to be built, and we definitely are going to need volunteers for that. So there's lots of opportunities.
A great summer project for someone to take on, it sounds
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Yes.
Well, some really good information. You guys are going to be in and out here through our morning. We're here until noon, but thanks for coming in for the first part of the morning show today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You bet. Shannon Roberts, Chris Simonson, Darlene Waldsmith, Tagliapietra. We have more about Passages coming up. Again, if you'd like to help us out, 608-647-2111. And we have some Passages volunteers that are phone answerers today. They'd love to talk to you. It's our day for Passages and the Radiothon here at WRCO Radio. I'm Phil Nee. Welcome back to the morning show. It's been a few years since we've had the opportunity to be a part of Passages and their story, and also helping to raise funds. Again, if you'd like to contribute to the cause, 608-647-2111. Next, we meet Audrey, who is an outreach advocate. Good morning, Audrey.
Good morning. So this month is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and it's my job to kind of spread awareness and prevention through the community. The other outreach advocate and I have been doing outreach for the month of April because obviously Sexual Assault Awareness Month is a big deal for our agency. So we've kind of been doing different things, or I try to do some different things that might not have been done in the past. So we tried doing a personal narrative where survivors could feel welcome to share their story with us, and we could provide services to them if they needed it. We also have safety pin awareness, which is what we did with the local businesses in the area. We kind of went around and met with the owners or employees there, and then we usually hand out flyers so that we can spread awareness to the community. And
what's the significance of safety pin awareness?
It's just like the awareness to show that the community or the business perhaps show support for Passages or sexual assault survivors. That's kind of why we hand out those safety pins.
Okay. Some other things, lipsticks and dipsticks.
Yes.
What is that all about?
So we did that last week on Wednesday. There was kind of a big storm, so we didn't get as many people that we wanted to. But usually we would have people come in, and the two people that work at TC Auto Works would show different like automotive lingo, kind of go through like the basic necessities of like cars, and also just getting more information that way out. So, and then we would be there to represent Passages. That's just a little bit about that.
And some other things you're involved in. I know you've been out in the community. I think it's a whole goal to just kind of be out there and be more visible, isn't it?
Yep. So we did do a window display at Kelly's Coffee House. We appreciate them letting us do this. It was a way of showing clothing is not consent, and we displayed a clothesline with a variety of outfits ranging from infants to adults, men and women, and that kind of just displays a little bit about why clothing is not consent. And then we also are doing something for Denim Day. We are doing a quilt. We have that at the library at our booth. That just displays some stuff about Passages and kind of the history behind Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We will be there tomorrow and I believe next Wednesday as well to kind of meet with people who are coming in and out of the library. And then people ask why denim, so I thought I would share a little bit about Denim Day, which is April 29th. Okay, in 1997 in Italy, an 18-year-old girl was raped by her 45-year-old driving instructor, who was later convicted and sentenced to jail. The perpetrator appealed the sentence, and his case made it all the way to the Italian Supreme Court, where the case was overturned. The instructor was released, and the head judge released a statement arguing that because she wore tight jeans, he assumed that she must have helped him remove her jeans and therefore consented. Enraged by the verdict, the women in the Italian parliament launched into immediate action and protested by wearing jeans on the steps of the Italian parliament building. This was the beginning of what has become a worldwide event and movement to wear jeans as visible means of protest against misconceptions that surround sexual assault. And the campaign kind of confronts the misconception that victims' clothing or behavior justifies sexual assault, which our window display kind of ties in with the whole Denim Day situation, that clothing is not consent.
And that's one of...
Go ahead.
And that's one of the, the myths or misconceptions of sexual assault that we as advocates hear a lot is, why was she wearing that? Or she put herself in that situation. And, the clothing display at Kelly's Coffee, I really encourage everyone to go take a look at it because, it really shows the variety. Men are sexually assaulted, children are sexually abused. It's not just women, but if you look at that clothing, it's very modest clothing. It's not, something that you would imagine being very low cut or provocative or anything like that. I mean, and it just really represents the fact that everybody is at risk. It's not just people that have body self-confidence and are willing to wear short shorts or low tops or whatever. It's absolutely everybody is at risk of sexual assault. And it doesn't matter where they were, what they were doing, what they were wearing. It's never the victim's fault. It is the perpetrator's fault, and there needs to be more education with youth, especially, who are coming into those years where, they're getting curious because consent is absolutely vital. And, if somebody is sexually assaulted, they're going to blame themselves. And they're going to blame whatever, well, I shouldn't have been walking down the street by myself, or I shouldn't have worn that blue sweatshirt or whatever. And that's absolutely not the case. So I highly encourage everyone to go down to Kelly's Coffee. It's right there on the corner facing Main Street, the big window. And there's information on the window also. There's also a QR code that you can scan that'll take you right to our website. So it's a very good visual display of everybody is at risk.
I'm a big fan of old TV shows and movies, but you see women depicted, back then, some things that wouldn't fly today, so it was bad then, but now we have the internet and different things. So I'm not sure if we've made improvements or not, Shannon.
I think it's gone backwards, honestly. I'm from the age of, I grew up in a childhood with no internet, no cell phone, no form of any communication except for, the phone on the wall with the 20-foot cord that you could wrap around to the kitchen. And so, we weren't exposed to all of these things, my grandkids right now, they can look up anything on the internet. And so kids are being exposed to things a lot sooner. And yeah, when we were kids, there were some racy things on TV that now wouldn't even be looked at as harmful.
Right.
Because there's so much more exposure on the internet and on TV now for our kids that we really need to be having those conversations with our kids about consent. And one of the people say, well, my child's not old enough to talk about consent. They are, because you can teach a 2-year-old about consent. If you're, if your child is at a table with another child and they're coloring and they go and they grab that other child's crayon, no, you need to ask for their permission to use their crayon. That's consent. We should be teaching our kids consent from day one. You never take something that doesn't belong to you without consent. So it's really about talking to our youth early and instilling in them from a very early age what consent is, and knowing body safety, and knowing that, you know, people can't just come up and hug you. And, you know, when we were kids, we had to hug everybody. Oh, go give Uncle Johnny a hug. Go give Grandma a hug. And that's not consent. You know, so we just really need to get to our youth and talk about consent and explain to them, because the world is at their fingertips and it's terrifying.
Yeah, well said. Audrey, why do you get involved? Why is this important to you?
Honestly, being a survivor myself, whether it's sexual assault or domestic violence, I came upon this job after graduating from college with a degree of human services, and for the life of me, I could not find a job. And when this job came up, I was like, this would be like perfect for me. Like, it'd be a good foot in the door to get some experience. And then, you know, since I have experience myself as a survivor, I was like, okay, like, let's just see how it goes. And today is my 1 year now at Passages, and I absolutely love it. I love helping the population that I help. I love working who I work with. I love pretty much anything about Passages. It's just a great, you know, all the staff support one another. All the staff support, like, our clients and residents. You know, it's just a great place to be a part of.
You've talked a little bit about spreading awareness. What are some other things you're doing, or maybe some goals you have in mind to spread the word about Passages?
Yeah, so as outreach advocate, usually we distribute like informational materials like brochures, or we go to events and set up booths to give out those materials. We go to businesses to spread awareness or try to get more people to see kind of what we have to offer. We try to partner with like our local businesses, police department, healthcare workers, because they also work with sexual assault victims as well. And we also facilitate like support groups at our shelter, or just open to the community. We would like to do a lot more of those. We've been trying to do more. So that would be a goal of the outreach advocates. We would like to start training more professionals like teachers or like the police. We would like to do that in the future. Hopefully that can be a goal that's met this year. But yeah, that's just some stuff that we kind of do as outreach, along with restraining orders, no contact lifts. We can do like one-on-one support, that kind of stuff. We can also support people in court, or, you know, kind of go through that kind of paperwork as well. But we do want to get into schools more. We have a lot of goals and a lot of things we want to achieve this year, I think. So, yeah, lots of big things coming.
And so you talked about your shelter for victims of domestic violence, but is there an age limit? I mean, if a 13, 14-year-old needs help, is that, or do they go to another agency? How does that work?
If we did get a client at that age, we are able to provide services. It would be free and confidential. We're also not mandated reporters, but we still can provide any of our services that we have. We can communicate with the schools if that becomes an issue. But yeah, we don't ever discriminate age, gender, sexuality, none of those things. We pretty much accept anyone of all ages. We're more than willing to help anyone of any age.
Shannon, did you want to comment?
Yeah, so, there may be some concerns about us working with people that are under 18. And so I just want to clarify, since it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month, I'm going to touch on that as far as youth. We have had youth, and I say youth are people under 18, reach out to Passages for services after being sexually assaulted or sexually abused. And, our goal is not to keep that information to ourselves. We are not mandated reporters, which means that we do not have a legal binding to report to law enforcement. However, we have an ethical responsibility. And so one of the goals that we have when working with youth is to provide that free and confidential service, but we also want to build that youth's confidence so that they have the courage to tell their parents or tell their school counselor or whatever. The more support a person has, whether they're 10, 15, 30, 40 years old, is what's going to help them with their healing journey. And so our ultimate goal obviously would be to get that crime reported, but we don't want the youth to not know what's going to happen next, because that's terrifying. Even for an adult, it's terrifying, not knowing, are you going to call the police? We will not call the police unless you ask us to call the police. And advocate for you. But the biggest thing is getting them prepared. This is what's going to happen once we call the police, once we call your parents. These are the next steps so that they understand and it's not as scary. That's really, really important when we work with the youth. We can work with youth under 18. We do not need parental permission, but our goal is to empower them to inform their parents, guardians, whoever that is, of what's going on for their future safety.
Our Benefit for Passages continues today. If you'd like to help out, 608-647-2111 for a monetary donation of any size, or if you just have some questions, we got some phone answers that can help you out. When we return, we're going to come back and we're going to hear Rose's story, a survivor story, and Audrey's going to bring that to us in just a moment on The Morning Show.